He was sentenced to life in prison for killing 3 American Indian women in Minneapolis back in the 1980s. And it was in prison where Billy Glaze died today. This amid a decades-long push by the Innocence Project to set him free. Fox 9's Iris Perez joins me now. And Iris, they say this fight will continue.
Randy, Innocence Project reps feel they must keep the fight to prove Billy Glaze's innocence alive, calling this a bad day for not only Glaze's family, but also the victims' families and anyone who may come in contact with the man whose DNA was found at 2 of the 3 murder scenes.
It's tragic.
Attorney Ed McGarrian learned only late last week his client, Billy Glaze, battled stage 4 lung cancer, a battle the 72-year-old lost in his Delaware jail cell.
The victims' families don't gain when the wrong person is inside.
Advocates at both the Minnesota and New York Innocence Project say Glaze was possibly only weeks away from learning if a judge would grant him a new trial.
Through DNA evidence, we were able to demonstrate that he was actually innocent of the serial murders that he was convicted of.
In 1989, a unanimous jury verdict found Billy Glaze guilty for the Minneapolis serial killings of 3 American Indian women. But in 2014, the Innocence Project uncovered Glaze's DNA was nowhere to be found at either scene.
Back in 1987, 88, 89, there was no such thing as DNA testing.
Instead, another man's DNA was discovered at 2 of the 3 crime scenes.
If Billy Glaze had been at any of these crime scenes, you would expect at least at one of them to find his DNA. It's not there. But the DNA of a man who abducted and raped a Native American woman in the same time frame was found at 2 of the 3 murder scenes.
That man's name sealed, but McGarrian says the man with the DNA match is a free man who likely still lives in Minneapolis. So what tied Glaze to the murders?
They used jailhouse snitch testimony. In fact, about 25% of the wrongful convictions in the U.S. are based upon this jailhouse snitch testimony.
The Hennepin County attorney in a statement writes his office, quote, has never wavered in its belief that Billy Glaze and Billy Glaze alone was responsible for these serial killings. Yet nearly 3 decades later, Glaze's stance didn't waver either.
The pain of that injustice was very strong for Billy.
Why his advocates will continue in their fight to prove Glaze's innocence.
And that was absolutely his last dying wish.
Glaze's attorneys say they will leave no stone unturned, and if there's a way to clear Glaze's name after death, they believe justice will ultimately be served. The Innocence Project's plan to make headway on this effort next month. Randy,
All right,
back to you.
Iris, thank you.